Okay, this video is a brief discussion of the syllabus for CIT144, which is Python 1. I'm your instructor, Wayne Beach. This is, of course, a 16-week class during the fall 2024 semester, and it is 100% online, which means we will have no in-person class meetings. They've started using a new template, so a few things are new. They added an About Me section. I have a detailed video of me giving you my background, but very briefly, my full-time job is in Central IT at the University of Kentucky, but I do also obviously teach for BCTC, and I've been doing that since the spring 1999 semester, so for quite a while. I've also in the past taught in the computer science department at UK when I was a graduate student, and I also taught one graduate level class at UK in library science in the past. My contact information is here. It's my email address, which is simply wayne.beach@kctcs.edu. And if you need to get in touch with me, the best way to do that is by sending me an email. You can message me in Teams, but if I don't reply within a few minutes, you should probably turn around and send me an email. I will probably notice that much quicker. As far as division contact information, this semester Dana Brown is the area coordinator, and our assistant dean is Lauren Campbell, and their contact information is there. Now, I'm not going to read the whole syllabus to you word by word. The next thing we have is the official course description, which you can read on your own. This is a 3-credit-hour class, and the prerequisites for this class is completing CIT 120. Next, we have learning outcomes, which used to be called course competencies. Basically, what these are is if you participate in the class, you do your homeworks, you do your programming assignments, you do well on those and your exams, and successfully complete the course. This is a list of things that you should be able to explain and or do, again, upon completion of the class. Why does it matter? Everybody has to have a level 1 programming course. Python 1 is a programming course, level 1. So that satisfies that requirement. And Python is a very powerful language that is currently being used quite a bit. As far as course participation, this is an online class, so the way you're going to indicate or show to me or participate in the class is by checking your email frequently, logging into Blackboard frequently, and completing all the assignments by the due date that is listed on the assignment. Next, we have the student accessibility services information. If a student feels they need an accommodation in the classroom to be successful in a course, they do not work that out directly with the instructor. They work that out with the SAS office. So if you go to the SAS office and talk to them about accommodations, and they decide that accommodations need to be made for you to be successful in the course, they will send me a formal letter that identifies the student as well as identifies what accommodations need to be made for that student. So if that applies to you, there's contact information there. Next, we have the course materials. This used to be things like you need pencils, you need floppy disk, a flash drive, a calculator, things like that, but it's kind of outside the computer changed into more pieces that you need for an online class. So, any online class at BCTC is probably going to require consistent access to a computer that has high-speed internet, has a webcam, has a microphone. Things you're doing in this class you cannot complete on a mobile device. So more specifically for this course, you will need a Windows, Mac OS, or Linux computer, or a virtual machine running one of those operating systems that is capable of running Python 3, both from the command line as well as in Python's idle integrated development and learning environment is what that stands for. You need a Blackboard account because this is a 100% online class, so you should already have that. KCTCS email, you should have one of those from the time you became a student. The other thing we'll be doing in this class is BCTC runs a Linux server. In the beginning, years ago, when they first started doing this, it was called the district server. They upgraded it several years ago and now refer to it as the Grace server, named after Grace Hopper. They're in the process of looking at upgrading that machine. I don't know if they'll keep the Grace name or if it will have some other name, but that's the server I'm talking about. Early on, you will have an assignment that makes sure that you get the VPN software installed that is required to connect to that server, and that you can successfully connect to that server and successfully run Python. So that'll be one of your early on assignments. All programming assignments, after maybe the first or second one, and it may even be required for that, are required to have their final execution on this Linux server. Okay, as far as textbook, there is a course fee for this course, which means you've already paid for access to an electronic copy of Starting Out with Python 6th edition. That is provided by the publisher Pearson through a system they call Rebel. That there's a link for that at the top of your course content. You're not required to have a hard copy of the book. However, if for some reason you prefer a physical copy, here is the information that you can use to order a copy of the textbook. Okay, the next thing is talking about no-show. Years ago, when there were no online classes, or very, very few, the policy for a no-show was if you have a student enrolled in your class who does not attend at least one of the first 2 class meetings, then you would drop that student as a no-show and they would be removed from your roster. With an online class, we are required to do what's called an attendance verification activity. And if you do not complete that activity by the due date, then you will be removed from the class as a no-show, and you will no longer be allowed to continue in the class, nor will you be allowed to re-enroll in the course that semester. For this course, what I have is an attendance verification assignment called Homework 0, which is basically one question, quote, test that says I have read the syllabus and ask any questions I had, true, false. And as long as you complete that by August 27th, you're good. If you do not complete it by August 27th, you risk being dropped as a no-show from the class. Something they added several semesters ago, which I really like, is the graded class components. They require that I give you a brief description of the different types of assignments that you will be having over the course of the semester. So I will have things that I refer to as homeworks. Anything that I refer to as a homework is an assignment that was created by me. You will have programs. Most likely all of these will be created by me, done on the Linux server I told about, and turned in. There's a very small possibility that there might be some programming assignments from the Revel system, but that's probably unlikely, but I wanted to mention it. You will have weekly quizzes that will be over typically material that was covered the week before the week in which the quiz is being administered. As far as exams, you will have a midterm exam and a final exam. In this class, both of these were created by me and will be administered via Blackboard and will be proctored, which is what the next section talks about. Your exams, again, both your midterm and final, will be proctored using something called the Respondus Lockdown Browser. To use Respondus, you need to have a computer with high-speed internet access. You need to have the Respondus browser installed on your computer, and there's a note there that we will do this part of a homework assignment probably 2 or 3 weeks before your midterm, just to make sure you have everything installed and working correctly, and you understand the process of taking a test in Respondus prior to actually having to do that for your midterm exam. And this will require a properly working webcam and microphone. Respondus cannot be accessed using a mobile device, so keep that in mind. And again, you will have more specific information and an assignment closer to your midterm. As far as midterm grades, several semesters ago, they started requiring that we calculate midterm grades and enter those into PeopleSoft. So that will happen approximately halfway through the semester. I believe the date will be given later, but it's usually towards the beginning to middle for the fall semester, October. Your final course grade will be calculated as follows. The average of your homework assignments will make up 15% of your grade. Your programming assignments, since this is a programming class, those will be 40% of your grade, so a big chunk. The weekly quizzes you take will be 15% of your grade. The midterm exam will be 15% of your grade, and the final exam will be 15%. And I use a standard 90 to 100 as an A, 80 to 89 as a B, etc. grading scale. When I assign assignments, they are almost always, if not always, due at 11:59 p.m. Eastern Time, so the end of the day. If for some reason you're going to have trouble getting a homework in, talk to me, and we can discuss whether I'll allow you to turn the late work in, whether or not there'll be a penalty, by what date do you need to have it turned in, etc. The one thing I noticed several semesters ago, as online classes were getting more and more popular, is, not all my students are at BCTC and in the Eastern time zone. So when I give you a due date, I'm referring to Eastern time, the time zone that Lexington and BCTC are in. If you happen, for example, to be in Owensboro, which is in the Central time zone, then you should understand that your assignment is due at 10:59 p.m. local time. As far as withdrawing from the class, you may only be 1 or 2 semesters into your BCTC career, so you may or may not be familiar with this, but basically up until the midpoint, that midterm grade day, if you choose to drop a class, you can simply go into PeopleSoft and do that. After that date, you need instructor permission, with, I think, the exception of if you're dropping all of your classes. But some instructors will tell you, don't even ask me after that midpoint, because I'm not going to allow you to drop from the class. I kind of have the opposite opinion. I feel that the decision to drop a class is a personal decision, and we may talk about it to make sure you correctly understand where you stand in the class and that type of thing. But ultimately, if you ask me to allow you to withdraw from the class, I will allow you to withdraw. As far as email policy, any email you send, whether it be personal, work, or school related, should have a good, meaningful subject. Something like a subject of help does not fall in that category. A good subject for this class would be something like CIT144 problem with homework 6. I know what class you're in, I know what assignment you're having a problem with, and if I need to go back and search my inbox, which sometimes is quite large, I can say, show me all the emails that have CIT144 in the subject, and then I can deal with all the emails from Python 1. In bold and partially capitalized, please do not use the Blackboard messaging system. I will not see that as quickly, and worse yet is I'll see a question, I'll hit the reply button, I'll type out a reply, I'll send that reply, and then the mail system's going to bounce it back because Blackboard evidently is not capable of receiving that email and parsing it back into a message for you. So once it bounces, I have to start an email to you. I have to find your email address. I then have to find the message you sent in Blackboard and say, hey, you asked me this question, and paste the question in. And then I have to say, here's my reply. And I have to go find the reply that I typed and bounced and copy and paste it into the email and then send it to you. So it's just really frustrating and annoying. So you'll get a much quicker response, and we'll cut down on frustration if you do not use the Blackboard messaging system. Next are some general resources that you can read about and look at related to your school career at BCTC. As far as embedded tutoring, up here they mention tutoring right here under student success. BCTC has some in-person and virtual, what I refer to as general CIT tutors. They will be able to help you, but often we have an embedded tutor. So they're called embedded for an in-person class because they actually come to class and sit in class with the students so that they're aware of what's going on and so that the students kind of know who the person is. In the case of an online class, they are added to the course shell so they can access information and assist students. But you will email them or more likely use a link to schedule time with them. I've had an embedded tutor every semester since I started teaching this class. So I'm hopeful that I'll have an embedded tutor again. The tutor I've had has been really, really good. So if we do end up with an embedded tutor, I will notify you of that, most likely through a Blackboard announcement, possibly email as well, and give you the tutor's contact information. And all these tutorings, regardless of how you get them from the embedded tutor or a general tutor, are free to you. You just sign up and show up for the appointment. Here is BCTC's Equity and Unity Statement, which was endorsed in 2017. You can read through that. The next section are some miscellaneous policies. The first is academic integrity. Basically, what it boils down to is, the work is expected to be solely yours, not plagiarized, not using material without quoting where it came from, and the misuse of artificial intelligence, things like ChatGPT, to try to complete your assignment. And if you want to read more about that, here is a link to the academic integrity policy. Class sessions, this will not apply to us, most likely, but I put it in here just in case, for some reason we had a session that might be recorded, or in case you had other classes in person where it may be recorded. And then we have the closed campus contingency policy. This is basically what would happen if, let's say, a new strain of COVID came out and they closed campus like they did back in 2020. And all of a sudden they said no more in-person classes, everything is online. I left it in there just so you're aware of it, but as the last sentence says, as an online class, there will not be a significant change, probably no change, to the way we conduct class. And then finally, the last thing I have is the tentative schedule for 144. This is week by week what material we will be covering. I've taught this class a number of semesters, so it should be pretty accurate. The one thing here is in week 8, which is, the beginning of October. You will have a midterm exam. It will be proctored, and it will be administered Monday through Thursday of that week. So that's an important date, or set of dates, obviously. And then down here at the bottom, we have your final exam. It will be administered during finals week. It will be comprehensive. It will be proctored. And the specific dates that it will be administered are the Monday through Thursday of finals week. So that's a brief run through of the syllabus for Python 1. If you have any questions regarding anything I've said or anything related to the class, please email me.